Well, one of those women bravely speaking out is model and TV personality Bianca Gascoigne, who says she was just 16 years old when she was sexually assaulted by Al Fayed while she was working for him. Bianca joins us now to share her story. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. So let's first of all talk about when you first met Mohamed.
Yeah, so I was very, very young. I used to go into the store with my parents. We used to have lunches there. He used to come over, be very personable, very charming, you know, very giving. We'd bring us gifts, obviously Harrods, you know, teddies and everything like that. So I felt very, I felt very safe around him early doors because obviously I saw him as, you know, knowing my parents as well.
And he was with you. And also, he was a very charismatic man.
Absolutely.
He kind of won you over. Do you think that that was a very specific thing that he was trying to do, is essentially win you over?
I don't know at that point, because obviously I don't think he knew that I would come to work for Harrods at that point. But obviously I think he was just doing the charm and, you know, portraying this image that unfortunately he wasn't.
Yeah. Of course, when you were a child, your dad was at the height of his fame with his football and adored, and your mum and their relationship. So going to Harrods was a very normal thing and they would have been looked after.
Yes.
Cut to when you're 16 and you got a job at Harrods.
Yes.
How did that come about, Bianca?
I left school and I knew I wanted to become a fashion buyer, and I fell in love with Harrods, obviously going there as a young age, and I just thought it was super impressive. So bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I started as a temp, so I worked all in different departments, and then I ended up in one boutique within Harrods, and I just quickly worked my way up to become a fashion buyer. But then obviously that meant I had to deal with Al Fayed a lot more and take reports to him on a weekly basis.
So what happened in those interactions? Because you're only 16 at the time. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility to have as a 16-year-old anyway, professionally, let alone with this added layer that was about to start happening.
Yeah, it's, you know, first of all, it very much started with, like I say, it was like a bit of grooming. You know, he was always wanting to be there for me, very supportive, told me I was doing a good job. Unfortunately, he would bring up my dad's illness to use that. Because I feel like he must have thought I was quite vulnerable. So he would say he would be the father figure. But then shortly after, it would be like the touching and then obviously leaning in for a kiss. And then, unfortunately, it's very difficult to talk about, but, you know, putting his tongue down my mouth. And to be honest, how I dealt with it was pretty much of an out-of-body experience. Like I was looking into what was going on, but not really, you know, registering what was actually going on with me at the time, because I was super scared as well.
And why do you think you didn't say anything? Is it because, you know, you were 16, you were in this dream job, he was so powerful?
Absolutely, there's a lot of aspects to it, and I just felt, I felt very, very ashamed. I felt dirty, I just kind of pretended like it wasn't happening. I just put it in a box and moved on and was trying to deal with it. I couldn't even I've only just told my mum recently exactly what went down, because I just didn't want to upset any of the family. And it's bizarre why you shut down in that moment when really we should have a voice and we should speak up. And
as you say, you didn't want to tell anyone, so you didn't confide in any of your colleagues as well, who, as we're seeing now, hundreds of women were experiencing similar things. Yeah,
absolutely. It's ever since coming out, I've had so many women message me about their experiences, and it's just so upsetting. It really is. It's crazy how these things got brushed under the carpet, because it was pretty much, I didn't know at 16 going in, but it was pretty much a common knowledge thing that was going on. So it makes me upset to think of my 16-year-old self. It makes me sad that I would go up to the office and probably people would know kind of what was going to happen.
And there were other people that weren't trying to protect you?
Yeah, I guess so. Now I look back.
It escalated as well, didn't it, though, Bianca, because what you've described there are the initial stages of what he's trying to do, but then you were flying out to Milan for a job. He offered you the Harrods flat to stay in, which was going to be great because that meant you could get to the airport quicker, and then suddenly he turned up that evening. Yeah,
it was totally, obviously, unexpected. I thought, what a nice offer, because I was actually getting up early to go on a flight.
Was there any concern with everything else that you'd experienced from him that there was something else about
That's a very good point. To be honest with you, it was like 20 years ago. I can't remember exact emotions, but I didn't expect him in any shape or form to turn up. I was completely shocked and gobsmacked and didn't really know what to do. You know, I just was like, I'm in his apartment. What do I do? I'm like, no, you're not coming in. So obviously he came in, and that's obviously the worst ordeal that I had to go through, and that's what I've been dealing with for a very long time.
And he physically was trying to force himself onto you and force you to sort of engage with him in some way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you know how... It's difficult for you to talk about. Have you, and I'm sure you've thought about it a lot over the last few days as you've been sharing your experience. Do you know how you got out of that scenario?
When he was obviously coming on to me, being very forceful, obviously got my hand and he got his privates out and tried to manoeuvre and push my head down. I think I just kind of wiggled out of the situation. It's all a bit of a blur, to be honest, because it's something that I've like really tried to block out. But I think maybe because I did work closely to people that he knew and where he knew my parents, even like my mum actually went into a meeting once because he offered to buy me an apartment. This was obviously early grooming stages. And she was like, this is a red flag, you know, something's not quite right. And I should have told her at that point, but I think I was just so scared and just obviously was a powerful man.
Yeah. And obviously being 16 as well, you don't have that much life experience yet. How did it affect you afterwards?
Yeah, I think I felt comfort in drinking, so I drank from like a young age because I just wanted to numb out a lot of the emotions that I was feeling. But just doing this, I just really hope that I can be a voice for other women and, you know, any women that haven't come out, because of the amount of messages that I've had to say, I don't feel so isolated anymore, I don't feel alone. And that's, you know, that's just, I feel like I've done a job well done already with that. You know, even if anything doesn't come of it, I want to be able to change my daughter's future, you know, for these big companies, not just to brush all these things under the carpet. You know, I feel like it happens a lot. So if I can do anything to change that, I will.
And you said that you hadn't been able to share it with your mum over the years. You have now since shared this all with your family, and I'm sure they've heard you talking. How has that process been for you?
I'm going to try not to cry, but obviously it's very emotional. And my mum watching the interview, she was very upset.
You know, one of the most important things is that you feel like you can come and share it, because, as you say, there could be people watching at home today that are going through something similar, and understanding that sharing it with their family, as painful as that might be, also helps.
Absolutely. Like, since I've shared my news, the healing that I've done, it's been very empowering, and I really would love to encourage anyone that's been through anything just to even speak to a friend. There's a couple of women that have come forward, well, many, that saying, oh, you know, you've actually given me the courage. I'm going to speak to my best friend. I'm going to speak to my family. And that's, you know, it's about not holding it in. You know, I felt very ashamed. Yeah. But it's not us that should be ashamed. It's obviously the perpetrator and the predator that should be, you know, held accountable for it.
So Harrods have been in touch and said we are utterly appalled. These are the current owners of Harrods, who, of course, it's very different owners now. We're utterly appalled by the allegations of abuse perpetrated by Mohamed Al Fayed. We acknowledge that during this time his victims were failed, and for this we sincerely apologise. It has been our priority to settle claims in the quickest way possible, avoiding lengthy legal proceedings for the women involved. While we cannot undo the past, we have been determined to do the right thing as an organisation driven by the values we hold today, while ensuring that such behaviour can never be repeated in the future. I wonder how you feel you will get some sort of justice. We know that Mohamed Al Fayed, of course, isn't here to answer all of these claims.
I think for me, it's just hopefully in future, like especially for my daughter's generation, for big companies to really, you know, focus on these things that can go down when someone so powerful is in charge and he can't get away with it and it gets brushed under the carpet. And just for more women to come forward and find their voice and to know that, you know, it's not us that should be ashamed.
Yeah, absolutely. Protect the future generations,
absolutely,
essentially. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Bianca. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bianca.
If you've been affected by anything we've discussed, all the helplines you need are available on our website and on our This Morning. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.